thank you for joining the service called Blueprint today. This is Roger Davison. My guest is Sean Griffin with Cornerstone Services. Sean is a marketing expert, and we're going to talk about marketing, how to get your telephone to ring, and how to keep from losing your customers. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Roger. Thanks for inviting me.
So in the pre-interview, one of the things that we talked about that struck my mind, because it's a real pain for my customers, is the attrition rate of our customer base. I want you to talk about what you see, what you know about that, and what we can do to solve that. And tell us some of the numbers that you know, and how many people leave us. It's shocking.
Yeah, people don't understand nationally that 10% of the population moves around. So you have a potential attrition rate of 10% by postal standards. There can be a whole host of other reasons why you might lose people as well, and they're often natural. It's not because they dislike you, but a company's brand is not in their mind necessarily. They're thinking of other things like moving boxes or things like that. It's not in the high priority list.
Mm-hmm.
Job of all these businesses is to maintain awareness in some form or another. So my job is in marketing is really always to, we like to say we're raising cash and awareness. I always need to have people know if they, let's say, need propane or oil or HVAC, remember you have a friend at such and such business.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes, you have to elbow room out, and there has to be an ongoing commitment to some level of awareness.
Give us a plan. What would you do? What do you do to minimize that attrition? Or you said something that I liked in the pre-interview. Hey, the customer leaves, but the tank doesn't.
Yeah.
The customer
we see it too.
The customer leaves, but the furnace doesn't. So tell the audience, hey, what do we need to be doing?
Sure. So there's several things. And sometimes I liken it to 1% of everything, which means that there's no one silver bullet. Of course, if there were, people would be doing that. But it's just having stickers. You make sure your stickers are on the tank or on the furnace. You touch something, I know in an unpolished way, we call it peeing on the hydrants. We want to make sure that you leave your mark wherever you were, and you can't have your drivers can't have enough of those. We do first-class postcards once a year, and it might say, "Hey, we got a new website," but the purpose is, look, it's not having a new website. It's like we want to know where you are, So if a first-class card comes back with a name on it, we know that they moved, because in the mailing world, you've only got 18 months before people. Their expiration on the NCOA National Change of Address System airs out. So if you haven't been contacting people, you don't know. I like to send newsletters, and I like to be a little crazy about it. We will send things in Martian green envelopes. We will send things, I will mail 8x8 squares. Why? Because if I mail a 4x6 postcard, ain't nobody going to look at it. I want something a little crazy. I will mail flower seeds and statements for people because mailing regulations allow it, and people will remember them. I want to do something different. I need to do something different. I need to disrupt the habit, the pattern. We need to jar people out of familiarity a little bit. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we do as a company for the top customers is that we, in the fall, go get, we're around a lot of apple orchards here in upstate New York. So we will deliver 3-pound home-baked dome apple pies to people, no sugar on the inside. And look, that is magical. Now, you can't do that with everyone. Not every single barbecue propane tank warrants a 3-pound dome apple pie, to be hand delivered. Mm-hmm. But it's that type of, at the high end, that's what you do. In the low end, you just are reaching out. And if you have this, Roger, if there is a plan throughout the year, let's say you just do 2 mailings, or preferably 3 or 4 throughout the year, you legitimize the ability for telephonic communication. So when you call up, you already have a relationship. It's just that you haven't talked on the phone. And so it's not a cold call in any way. It's really just like, hey, we saw your card came back. We want to make sure we know where you are. It is a much easier way, a genial way of maintaining communication, because you're not trying to sell something. It's not a hard sell. You're just trying to maintain communication. And there's a naturalness to that. And people are very receptive in general if you've earned the right to do it. Mm-hmm. And just one other thing I'd like to share with people. I need people to like the businesses that we're working for. So I will not use generic iStock, Getty Images, Shutterstock images. I forbid it. I want to see overweight guys around a barbecue. I want to see, people who are like them or photogenic. People want to see themselves in a picture or a mirror, and I want the marketing to reflect back the community in which they're operating.
Use real pictures of us.
Absolutely. It's not acceptable to take generic pictures. I mean, everyone does it, but it's because everyone does it. It's just refreshing when you see the real guys. Look, the assistant office manager had a baby. And, next month we're going to find out what the baby's name is. You can have fun with it.
Let me drill down into the newsletter.
Sure.
I like that. Newsletters are a lot of work. Tell us how the process, do you write the newsletter for us, figure out who to send it, give us the details?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Certainly if I left it up to everybody to write newsletters, nothing would ever get done. We do a lot of appeal mailings for police, PBAs, fire departments, EMT, EMS. I jokingly say, the cops never met an infinitive; they couldn't split. So we do the writing or editing for them. But in a lot of ways, it's just really tell us what's going on. It's a natural conversation with your customers. Here's what we're doing. Look, crude oil is to some degree a commodity. All right, I mean it is a commodity. But the relationship people have is not with crude oil, it's with the people, not even the business, but the people at the business. So they may not remember the name of their driver, but they'll remember how they felt when they interacted with them. You need to enliven those people in a newsletter, and we're just telling stories. So all we're doing is maintaining the humanness, because it's a lot harder to say no when you have to talk to someone than it is to just sort of throw a card in the trash. My job as a marketer is to capture microseconds. So I like to say I got 1 to 2 seconds. If I have 3 seconds, I've succeeded wildly. If I have 5 seconds, I have arrived. All right. Now, if a hardware store wants to sell snow shovels in July, that's not my problem. My problem is to get people to look at things, and I know how to do that. So we do write content. We do try and ask for pictures. A lot of times we have to pilfer from people's Facebook pages because they don't have them. So take pictures, man. Tell me stories. And the newsletter writes itself. But we always build a newsletter or a direct mail piece around a singular picture or a group of pictures. The text is a support, it's the buttress to that. It's not the other way around. No one reads long copy anymore. And they only read it because it's mildly interesting, not because they want to know about, new developments in AC.
It sounds really relational.
Absolutely. And you're good at this as well. And it's that type of rapport building where you can then offer other services, you can ask questions, and sometimes your customers will really help you out.
Do you put promos in there, coupons or anything like that?
You do, but sometimes I don't like starting out like that unless there's triage necessary. I like to, what I call justifying the ask. We build a rapport first. Let's talk about taking care of them first.
Yep.
And you even had in one of your other interviews the law of reciprocity. And at some point you can go back and say, look, we have some downtime. You can even be very transparent about it. You could say, we have some downtime. We're doing a special on service burner maintenance this month. What do you got? Anything you need to do? Because we're real busy. Come that first frost in November, September, we're going to be real busy. It'd be a lot better to take care of things upstream than downstream. So you appeal to logic, but you appeal to the emotional bridge that's already been built. And those two together shouldn't cause a problem. But if I had to just add water and manufacture it, it's almost impossible.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about who do we send this to? Do we send it to everybody in our database, or do we go in there and mine it?
Well, it depends on where you're at and what you need to do. If you take a look at a conventional, I have a finance background, so I'm pretty good at understanding a lot of the QuickBooks Pro and used to be Peachtree and Great Plains Software, or a lot of them don't really delineate between what type of customers they are. So if we're trying to do anything like target marketing, it's only as good as the data you entered. Mm-hmm. And most places, it's not entered very uniformly. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Right.
So I almost, as a first pass, when I inherit a database of almost any size, is just do a first class postcard mailing. We got to get all the crap to float to the surface and see who's there, who's not.
All the crap flows to the surface means see what comes back.
Yeah, and we need to see what comes back, and then those cards are used as calling people up.
Okay, hang on just a second. Stop, because I know what the audience is thinking.
Sure.
Oh my God, I don't have time to do all of this. I got so much on my plate. You do all this for them, right?
Oh, yeah, we find lost people. We work for community colleges a lot, where we have to find alumni they haven't seen in 25 years. We build our own databases for real property. We have reference to Board of Election records. It's all legal, of course, but we're just trying to find lost people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we do that. See, the best list you could ever buy, Roger, is one you can't buy. It's the one you already have.
You already have a great list.
Yeah, so I don't have to under normal circumstances, in a typical place, we just have to have Basecamp. We have to build the rapport, the foundation of what do you got? Let's work with that. Because even if half those people are no longer owning homes in the jurisdiction, we need to know who does own the home.
Mm-hmm.
So the home is also a contact as well as the person.
Yeah,
now,
because the home is the tank and the furnace and the air conditioner.
Yeah, and credit scores matter. Absolutely. And there are ways of verifying that. But I want to know who's there, and you know, we can't have a rapport without a name. So we always have to get a name on a card. After that, then it's really trying to see what the system can support. Because if you're going to take a commitment to what's called data hygiene, you need to start tracking some notes and some information. So it's really just outreach after that. We do all the design. We do the whole 360 at Cornerstone. Mm-hmm. We do concept, design, outreach, plan. We will do copy. And we will try and take care of everything, because most people are very good at, you know, plumbing, HVAC, understanding the services they do, but marketing is almost an afterthought, if not an evil necessity for many people.
So let me ask this. So marketing is an afterthought for most people?
Oh, absolutely.
But it needs to be a way of life?
Well, if you got holes in your boat, it's, you know, you either need a new boat or you got to start plugging holes. It's very hard when the boat's leaking. I like to have a plan and work the plan.
You always are doing something. You got a plan, but you're always, it's something that's ongoing. It's not something, oh my God, I got an emergency. It's urgent. Let's do it. You do it before it's urgent.
It's just a lot easier that way, but this is true of everything. Of course, mm-hmm. It's car maintenance. It's everything. Mm-hmm. That said, there are what sometimes we call opportunistic marketing. You know, there's an old saying that when your competitor is drowning, you make sure you get a garden hose and shove it down his throat. Mm-hmm. We absolutely have done some stark turnarounds in 48 hours. I do use real property data for proactive marketing. So if someone does have solidity of their customers, then we can look at home value. What kind of home do they have? Are they like our other customers? We absolutely use real property data. It's the best data possible. Mm-hmm. And we want to have good names. I do not find.
You used a word I don't understand. I think a lot of people won't understand. You use the word solidity. What do you mean by that?
That if you don't have and this is where you're great at this, if you don't have the internal structure for taking care of customers and maintaining their information and being able to respond when they call in, all the work I do is like sugar candy. It's like Halloween. You get a large candy rush, but it's not nutritious, and you end up having to go overpay for real food.
Because you don't know how to handle what came in.
Yeah, and I can't do that.
That's what I do.
Yeah, exactly. And my job is to get them to a door, but I'm not taking off their coat and, you know, putting their shoes aside. It's their job to know how to be taken care of once they get there, and you do that. I can't do that.
Talk to us about, in the pre-interview, we talked about what is marketing, what's not marketing. Can you just sort of run through that briefly? It was interesting how you sort of outlined that.
Yeah, you know, I have to say, I did not read books on this stuff. I just learned. If I ever wrote a book, it'd be called The Hard Way, because I never learned anything the easy way, and I feel like we'd be idiots not to see what people were doing and what wasn't working after 20, 25 years. So things that are not marketing are you on Facebook. People say, hey, it's St. Patrick's Day. Hey, it's Christmas. Hey, it's Cinco de Mayo. That's a waste of time. All right, has nothing to do with you. I don't even like Facebook for that stuff, because what you're doing is promoting Facebook. So you're driving people to Facebook. You're not necessarily driving them. Facebook's rankings look great in SEO. I want people to go to your website. So, it looks like, frankly, it's busy work in my mind. Sponsorships for community foundations, hospital, golf outings, Boy Scouts, Little League, those are nice. I think businesses should be charitable, but I would not pretend it's marketing. It's very passive. It's not proactive. And I look at anything, for me, marketing always has an active verb in it. Okay?
An active what?
A verb. You
an
have
active verb.
Yeah, you have to be doing something on an ongoing basis. It can't just be, I wrote a check and I hope it works. So so these things are fine, but if you want the phones to ring, if you want to make sure that you can carry through over softer times, has to be a plan 3 months ahead, usually. Just like the fashion industry is always 6 to 9 months ahead of there.
Yeah.
And so active marketing means that you have some intelligence. If you have a plan and work the plan can change, but it's always in context of a plan. And on my side, we can be very nimble to redesign, re-promote, redirect. Those are the things that, if there's a cold snap coming, first class, we change bulk mail to first class, get it out, it hits in 1 to 3 days. Those are things in context of a plan we can accommodate.
You look at the weather. You know that's coming. You're planning.
Oh, absolutely.
You already got it ready to go. You're just waiting to drop it based on what the weather says.
You got it. We wait for problems.
That's
all right.
Good.
So, and I have to be on demand in that sense, but we do have things lined up. So I'll just give you some other examples of, swag and static market. I mean, swag is great. Give out, foam cups and, windshield scrapers and things like that. But
swag is an acronym for what?
I should probably know this, but they're just the
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, the stuff made shirts, t-shirts. Those are hats, trucker hats. Those are nice, but they're not going to ensure that it goes directly to a phone call.
It's not going to make a phone call.
Yeah, it's got to be a phone call for me. Someone has to call that, because if you can't measure it, it's not real in my mind.
That's right.
It's a hope. And one of the things I tell my customers is that one of my favorite quotes is from Florence Nightingale: "Hope never cured cholera." We do not cure the disease of no customers with swag. And the last thing I'd say that isn't marketing is a crappy website, static websites. Mm-hmm. Static websites that are not attractive to Google, and Google will punish you and degrade you if you do not work with them. So we build websites, but even if it's not my website, you have to. One of my programmers said, eventually it occurred to him that the way you beat Google is you don't. You work with the monster. It's not our backyard. They all went to Stanford. They're all very smart. Don't try and beat them. Just ask them, what would you like? I will give you. That's all. And then Google rewards you handsomely. But if you look, like a place like Hyde Park is perfect, is that everyone's kind of at the same level. No one's sticking that little bit out above, Roger. So they haven't planned. So if we do a direct mailing, you have a static website that's not SEO friendly. Google doesn't give you any credit for it. It's like, yeah, I'm not impressed.
Tell me more about static website. I don't know what that means. And
it's not obvious. And I had to learn it from, kids, frankly, a lot smarter than me. But there's two types of websites. There's dynamic and static. Legacy websites, usually built 3, 4, 5 years ago and haven't been updated, are often what's considered, not always, but often considered to be static. Static means that you can't pull it up on the phone. If you can pull it up on the smartphone, it's usually, you can pull it up, but you can't really navigate easily. Those are responsive, dynamic websites that you can easily go into a smartphone with. Mm-hmm. Most of them, and not picking on Hyde Park, but I do know it well, that most websites at that small level, generally speaking, are not easy for the search engines to find things. In order to give you credibility, you must be identifiable, and they can't look at pictures of things to know. Google's getting better, but you need to be able to be receiving of the information bots that Google is the intel that they're trying to gather from your site. So really, it looks like, I call them billboards in the woods. People build these beautiful sites, but they're just big billboards in the mountains. No one knows they're there. So we have to go to that level, and it was natural for us because it doesn't take much. You do a saturation mailing at a place like Hyde Park, it's not that expensive, but you get the bonus round of having a good website, where Google gives you a bonus round of ranking you number one if your site, if people are going to the site, and they naturally will. They want to check you out.
Mm-hmm.
They're absolutely going to go to the web. We do a direct mailing. People going to the web, they may not call you first. They're going to check you out first. And then
Really? They go online and look first.
Yeah, it's just natural now. There's no more yellow pages. It's gone.
That's true. Yeah. So I'm assuming part of what you do in your process is you look at the website, because that's the other side of what I do. You know, I teach them how to answer the phone and book the call and run the service calls so they can generate revenue. And that's the other piece that you got to do that you didn't really want to do, but you learned that you had to do it.
It just was compellingly obvious over a time that, and you know who I learned it from the most was me. Once we changed our website,
Yeah.
I got clients in Iowa. We do work in South Africa, Toronto.
Yeah.
I have a bookseller in London, because I think that we're likable, but I think that we made it clear the altitude that we want to work at. And by the way, your site can also be prophylactic. It can also prevent the low end stuff. If you don't want to work on, let's say you want to work on commercial only HVAC,
Mm-hmm.
clear in your website that there's no, home component to this. Otherwise, you're taking calls all day long.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can shape your audience based on how you present yourself, via the website.
Let me ask you this question. What would you tell the business owner that's nervous, afraid, the phone's not ringing, it's between seasons, and it's urgent? What do you do?
Well, the first thing is I tell them that we can't work in fear. And so there absolutely has to be this understanding that, and I believe that this is a beneficent universe, that there is goodwill out there, good people, and that there are no problems we can't solve. I have a friend with stage 4 cancer. That's a big problem. All right. That's not something I can solve with a direct mailing. So I do need almost the emotional cooperation of an owner to say, do you believe that we can do this together? So, and I call it the 1 + 1 is 3, that if there is a belief that you can overcome, there's no problem. But if you really don't believe, then anything I do is going to be mitigated by.
Yeah, because you're going to bring the bad to you.
So I believe in a higher level of this type of approach. The second thing I do is we just, and it's always this prime directive. What do we need to do today? Really, like tomorrow, it's almost a day-by-day thing. What can we do today? Even before we do a mailing, what are our raw materials? What do we have at hand? It's sort of like battle stations, If you're being attacked by the Indians, do I have rifles? Do I have ammo? What do I have? You need to know what's in your fort, and we need to know what our materials are. So I'm looking at data. Do I have images? And really, it's some of the stuff you have. Do I have someone who can pick up the phones? Because if you're scrambling to go do service calls and no one's answering the phones, we have a real problem on our hands.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be solved. It's just that we need to know how we're going to solve it together. I almost always want to go to the phones first and call some of the usual suspects. Who are people you did work for this time last year?
That's what we do.
Yeah, it's just you probably need help again, and they'll probably be receptive. They probably already like you. That's the great thing about your own customers, is that theoretically, they already like you. You don't have to sell them on you. You just have to get them to remember who you are.
Let me jump in here and plug what I do, because if you're out there listening and you don't have anything to do, I can help you get busy. We just need to figure out who hasn't done business with you, who doesn't have a transaction between 6 months and 36 months. I can download them into a system, and we can start clicking a button and making dials, and clicking buttons and leaving voicemails. And I got the script to teach you how to do it and give you some hope. I have one lady at a client who's just average. She's just really average, and her first 9 tune-ups generated $22,000 in revenue.
Amazing.
Because the technicians know what to do. But one of those was a $14,000 deal. But if we hadn't, she's made 400 phone calls, but she hadn't talked to but 40 people. But every second person she talks to says, "Yeah, come on out," because they know us. It's not a cold call.
It's
But
not a cold call.
that's the thing that you can do in an urgent way to
Exactly.
get things on the board for in the morning. I'm doing this for a client in Hyde Park, and we've already run one. We've run a tune-up, and we're going to run more. And you got to trap yourself to do the behavior. But that's the most urgent thing that you can do is call them. But then because it takes a while to do what you're doing, you got to get the pictures, you got to get the thing together, you got to get it in the mail. I mean, what's the turnaround time?
Well,
If I hired you today, when could I have it in the mail?
it depends what you want in the mail. I could get something in the mail in 24 hours. If
I don't know. I just need the phone to ring. What do we need? How long is it going to take? I mean, that's what they tell me.
All right. So it's in 1 week. Is
Okay, that's not bad.
typical. A non-fire alarm, non-four alarm fire turnaround. All right. If we absolutely have to do that, the way I would probably do this is that we don't have time to go through the database and figure out the quality of your list. We're probably just going to do some saturation mailing to. We do statistical analysis of carrier routes to see who are statistically most likely people to call.
To your database?
Oh yeah, we're doing statistical analysis even on a saturation level. We still want to know the average type of people in those areas. We have to do that as a minimum.
Yep.
And then we can
call some people.
Well, I sometimes call it sending a probe, like Star Trek. Let's just send out 1,000 cards and send. I mean, it depends on what level of triage. If we really can't make payroll, you got to put it on a card and drop 2,500. Usually, Roger, 2,500 is a minimum quantity for any type of saturation mailing. You do not get a statistically acceptable result for the quality of what you're doing until you mail 2,500. 500 can give you false certainty. But if you know who the people are already, then 500 can be an acceptable, subset.
Okay.
But I generally speaking, I don't like to work with a gun to my head. So 2 weeks comfortably, 1 week if absolutely necessary. But if you can't make payroll, 24, 48 hours, but it's hard.
Yeah. Have you ever done marketing where I do a job let's pretend I change out a furnace and an air conditioner for XYZ 123 Main Street. Have you ever done marketing to the neighbors?
Absolutely. We do it for real estate.
That works really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I do it for Coldwell bankers around the country. It does work well. I like to make sure that I really do like to know something about the neighbors, because if you have the nicest home in a bad neighborhood, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Let's assume it's a propitious area. That certainly helps. I also tell people it's the little things too. It's the lawn signs.
That along with that.
I was at a friend's house yesterday, and the guy put on the roof. He had 6 lawn signs because the property is on 2 commercial, areas. He was smart. He had 6 lawn signs up. Yeah, it's overkill, but you know what? Compared to we sell lawn signs, but compared to buying Google ads, it's cheap.
Yes. And I just want to say, you guys out there listening, you got to get proactive, man. You
Absolutely.
do a job, you put a yard sign in, get some door hangers and walk around the neighborhood. I used to canvass neighborhoods and knock on doors and get appointments. And I know it's kind of foreign to people, but I could show you how to do that. But at the very least, leave a door hanger and then send them a piece in the mail. Listen, I used to do these things that were we called them yellow postcard leads. And they were like gold. If we got a yellow postcard lead, the salespeople would fight over it. And here's what a yellow postcard lead was. This was back in the 90s, man. I think it was archaic. But I had this program, and it would give me all of the neighbors' carrier route sorted.
Yep.
And I could tell it who to give me, and I would print through a laser printer these postcards and cut them, put them in put them on that thing where you cut them. And I'd cut them and I'd stick them in the tray because I had that and I already had the coupon. And I'd send yellow postcards, a tray. How many's in a tray? Do you know?
Well, you can fit over 1,000 postcards.
I would send a tray or 2 a week out to neighbors in an area. And man, those postcards, that we'd get a yellow postcard lead and they would sell.
Well, I tell you a little dirty secret. I got to whisper because I don't want everyone to know.
Okay, don't talk loud. I get close.
Yeah, we'll just talk real quietly. But you could do a 5,000 quote unquote neighborhood mailing. Hey, I help someone in the neighborhood. You can expand the neighborhood to like 5 miles.
Oh, I think I was doing a lot of that.
no one's going to call you. Say, well, I got my tape measure out, and no one's going to call you on it. So, I mean, we do that too. As long as I'm not, there are bright lines you can transgress. But I think if you stay in the zip code.
I was doing things that I shouldn't be doing. I was about 3 million, had 4 salespeople, 40 employees, and I was clicking that. That was it was like the firewood in the fire, in every way. I just wanted to handle that. Probably wasn't what I should have been doing.
But if you have fun with it, it's not a waste of your time. There are times you have to have fun at work doing this. I mean, I try and tell people, yes, it's a problem, but even good problems are problems. So if we didn't have problems, we wouldn't have fun. Yeah. So we have to have fun.
Hey, this has been fun. We've been about 40 minutes, maybe 35. We have already. Tell me, what did we not cover that you wanted to cover? What do you want them to hear that we didn't talk about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like to get out of the triage mode, and let's assume someone has actually listened to you and maybe me, and they actually have some stability. I call it solidity, but there's bedrock in terms of things are going well. We're growing at 10, maybe 15% a year. We're doing fine. How do we now maximize the value of what we're doing? And really, we're looking at margin, and we're just looking at the best use of people's time. And maybe we're trying to get rid of some of the outliers, the people driving us crazy, because there's an 80-20 rule. It is called the Pareto principle. If anyone's ever interested, it's actually a natural law. It's not just a good idea, but 80-20 is a natural law. And 20% of the people could potentially be driving 80% of your revenue, but also conversely, 20% of some of the people could be driving 80% of your problems.
Uh-huh.
So I do like to look at maybe we need to fire clients.
Uh-huh.
And I don't like you don't ever tell people, because in the world of social media, if you look at the propane companies that I work for, energy companies I work for, it's always that one bad egg in 100 that leaves all the terrible Yelp reviews, Facebook reviews. And, you can degrade Facebook, but you can't erase Yelp. So I really like to start looking at what do we need to do to have this be more profitable with an eye towards the future, but also be, one of the ways I do this is just asking good questions, Roger. So I ask, who are the clients you like, and what would it take to get more of them? And usually the people know the answers. Well, we want people in McMansions. Fine. Then let's stop mailing to trailer homes. All right. But let's start approaching the people and with a more refinedness, and not high sophistication, but it just has to be genuine. We have to have a recurring program, and then we try and get people to sign up for stable services such as home, a furnace check plan, like that, maybe budget letters, something like that. So I'm really, and then if you have people who are real problems, I'll just jack their prices up. You don't have to, they're probably worth it at some point. Someone gives you $10,000 to fix, a problem client, sure. Just jack their prices up. Mm-hmm. That's all, because if they're the ones driving you crazy. It's Harvey Mackay. In my industry, Harvey Mackay ran an envelope company, and he always started off his trade shows with, it's not the people you fire that drive you crazy, it's the people you don't fire. So we need to refine our customers if we know that we have something, and make sure that we groom the people that we want to have, and we keep our margins up.
You got to know who you are and who you are not, what you're willing to do and what you're willing not to do. And it's an issue of boundaries. I teach people about this all the time, but you gotta decide who you are, who you're not, what you're good at, and who you serve. And you ain't everybody.
Yeah. You can't be all things, all people. So you're exactly right. And then it's more fun too. I mean, that's the great thing. This doesn't have to be a chore anymore. Yeah. But then you can do things like you can invite, I like doing the fun stuff. Like, let's everyone come, we're going to have a company picnic. Everyone's invited. Look, not everyone's going to show up. Maybe only a few people, but you get credit for that type of benevolence. You get credit for that outreach. People don't forget that.
You invite your customers.
Yeah, we're going to be at the fire department helping serve pancake breakfast. We'd love to see you.
Yeah.
Look, this is the stuff that if you get out of triage and can get stable.
Yeah.
There's so many more fun things to do. And I always tell people, everyone sometimes says, well, after recession, direct mail, it's not as valid anymore. It's entirely untrue. It's the way people use it has been invalid, but it's not been used. It's just a bus that we're using to drive the connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
We can do it other ways, but it's really having that stability of communication, and that gives you options, because you don't have a lot of options when you're trying to make payroll, but you do have options when, and then you can wait for someone to fail. We're very aggressive on my side. I'm looking for people to trip up.
Yeah.
And my job is to protect my clients and use sharp teeth. And if we see an opportunity, we see a market's underserved, I'll actually have proactive conversations at times with people saying, I took a look at the area. I don't see people focusing in this part of the county. Is this something you're interested in?
Yeah.
Or someone closed or something like that. These are the ways. Well, just one other thing. When I was working with Petro Oil nationally, I spent a lot of time working in mergers and acquisitions. And the fastest way to grow is actually through acquisitions. It's not just trying to go get customers, it's buying people out.
Yes.
And I did it with Cornerstone, and it's a lot faster. It's a lot easier, and it can actually be fine.
Yeah.
And people may even feel good about it, because if you can show them that people are very protective of their own customers and they want to make sure they're taken care of. And that's a healthy type of rapport to have. And if you can do that and be known for it, things get a lot easier going forward.
This has been very enlightening. I appreciate you joining us today. Tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
Sure.
Contact you.
Sure. Thank you, Roger. Again, my name is Sean Griffin. I run Cornerstone Services in the Hudson Valley, New York. The website is crst.net, Charlie Robert Sam Thomas.net. We do direct mail, data. We create online databases. We build websites. We pretty much handle the 360 of marketing that oil, HVAC, petroleum, energy companies need to do. And my job is to take things away from people, not give them more things to do. And we try and have fun doing it. I have a wonderful team. I love going to work every day. I've never had a job. There's days I can't wait to get the hell out of there, but it's a privilege. And I love the people I work with, because they believe that service is a privilege. It's not just a duty. And it took me a long time to find those kind of people, Roger. I'm very happy to have them. So.
Well, listen, we appreciate you joining us today. I'm going to put your website, your email, and your phone number below the video. But thank you for joining us today, and God bless.
All right, you too. God bless.